Dan Geltrude on that and the significance of all of that. They have been warning us about that and promising us and saying that, the usual line is, Dan, if you're paying your taxes, doing what you should be doing, paying what you should be paying, you have nothing to worry about. What do you think?
Well, that's very true, Neil. I mean, tax cheats should be concerned because they are the problem. You're supposed to pay the appropriate amount of tax. Now, when we come off of that, when you get audited, an audit is painful no matter how you look at it, Neil, and nobody wants to go through that. But let's keep in mind that the IRS is looking at return on investment, and that ROI is going to be where they focus in on. And to this point, it has been to the tune of about 90% of their audits focused on those making less than $400,000. So the question becomes, why would they do that? Because those taxpayers don't have the resources of wealthier taxpayers, meaning that they can hire representation. And the effect of that is, Neil, it takes the IRS longer to get through these audits. So when there's that low-hanging fruit where you can go in there, do an audit, get money, move on, that's been their objective to this point.
It's interesting because when I had the IRS commissioner with us a couple of weeks ago, Danny said they're not targeting that under $400,000 crowd, but if he said if you have cheated and you are in that crowd, you will be discovered as well. But when it comes to getting from the very, very rich, oftentimes theirs isn't straight income. It could be capital gains. It could be all sorts of investments all over the world and sometimes questionable schemes. Hard to track down, hard to audit. So what do you think of the success rate here?
Well, that's the whole point, Neil. Those tax returns are quite complex. So it's not just a matter of, hey, that's where the money is, let's go get it. Well, yeah, the money may be there, but you're going to have IRS agents that are very knowledgeable and well-trained. Now, what's happening with the increase in these audits relates to the increase in resources that the IRS has received from the Inflation Reduction Act to the tune of about $80 billion over 10 years, Neil. So now they do have more funding to be able to do this, but it's not as easy to say, all right, well, we're going to hire all these people and let's send them out to work on these complex returns. It doesn't work that way, Neil. So it's going to take a while for this program to kind of ramp up. I know it's popular to say, get those big, bad, rich tax cheats. Okay, not so easy to do.
Yeah, I got it. Next year, all the Trump tax cuts go away unless they're extended, and it's too soon to tell. But what do you tell clients and those you work with about how they should prepare?
Well, it's interesting, Neil, because now you start to get into election prediction. And the way I see it is this. In order for those Trump tax cuts to stay in place, you're going to have a Republican in the White House and a Republican Congress. If you have split government, those tax cuts are going to sunset. So what I'm looking at now is to say we need to start thinking about what it looks like going back to the pre-Trump tax cuts. And how do we start planning for that? Because there's more of a likelihood, Neil, that happens, that there's some level of split government. So that, to me, is the better bet, and that's how you have to plan.
Yeah, which means they could go away even for a while here, but we'll watch it closely. Dan Geltrude, thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Neil.